back to another episode of Angel's Craft Closet. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this waterfall card, and as part of the card I'm using the Spray Shimmer Mist. It's the first time I've used it, but I absolutely love the effect that it gives on paper. Now I've seen several patterns for this waterfall card, but the one I liked the best was by Don Griffith, and it has 4 squares to stamp on. For the background I'm going to be using a Sizzix embossing folder of snowflakes and some chocolate chip cardstock, some real red cardstock, old olive cardstock, and some Whisper White. Now this green strip of cardstock is 2 inches by 9 inches, and it's scored at 2 inches, 2 3/4 inches, 3 1/2 inches, and 4 1/4. And you're going to want to fold along all of your score lines, both backwards and forwards, to make sure that when you're moving the waterfall portion of the card up and down, that it moves smoothly. Now here's the Sparkly and Bright stamp set, and it's just absolutely adorable. I wanted to make a fun card instead of one that was more serious. Before I did too much else though, I wanted to spray the shimmer mist onto my red cardstock. And I find to avoid the dripping onto the cardstock with splotches is to kind of spray into the air and let it fall gently onto the paper, or move your cardstock through the air to capture the sparkle. And once that's done, I am putting it into my snowflake embossing folder and running it through my Cricut machine. I am layering it with the A plate, the B plate, and then the embossing folder in between 2 B plates. And just running it through. Super easy. And the reason I did this is I wanted use the shimmer spray was that I wanted my snowflakes to kind of sparkle. And I think that I succeeded. I just love the way that looks. The first time, I'm not sure if you see on that example, I just had a flat background and it just seemed like it was missing something, so the embossing folder really just punched it up a notch. Now I also used this shimmer spray on that small strip, which is 3/4 inches by what is that? That's 3/4 by 4 inches long. That red base that I'm using right there is 4 inches by 5 1/4. Now you see that I used my crocodile to poke a hole in each side of the strip, which I put about 3/4 inch from the bottom. And now I'm just using some dark eyelets on there, using my crocodile to apply them. Now I used a fair amount of adhesive because I don't want my cardstock going anywhere since it's a pretty interactive card. And now I've flipped my crocodile over, and I'm using the larger hole punch because I'm using a larger grommet for the bottom where I'm going to feed the ribbon through for the pull. There's a larger grommet. Now that chocolate chip piece for the background was 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. And then again, I just changed my setting on my crocodile to the larger setting holes there. Now I'm just sliding in the interactive strip behind where I'm going to attach it. Now I would recommend either using a Permatac adhesive like I'm using here on my glue glider, or using your sticky strip to make sure that the flap is securely attached to the front of the tab there. And here you see I'm feeding through about 4 or 5 inches of ribbon through my grommets, and I'm just tying it to the bottom and then trimming off the edges to angle them a little and clean them up a bit. Now I wanted to wait until I had attached the flap to put my stamp on, so I know how far it came down. It might be a little bit more difficult to stamp on, but you get a much better idea of the placement. And so I'm just using the phrase that came with the Sparkly and Bright stamp set, along with the little snowflake design for the inside there. And I am using chocolate chip ink for the reindeer, real red ink for the Santa and the stocking, and old olive ink for the Christmas tree. And so I have 4 white squares that are 1 7/8 inches by 1 7/8 inches, and I'm going to be mounting these white squares on 2-inch by 2-inch square old olive pieces. Now, once I have all of these white squares mounted onto the old olive squares, I'm going to run a single line of adhesive at the top of each one and line up the top to each of the scored lines that we folded over earlier. And you're going to want to start at the bottom and work your way to the top. And you have a choice with which design you want to be on the top, and what order that you want them to be in. I chose to have my Santa be the top layer. Before I attach these, I am using a glitter pen just to add some highlights and make a little bit more sparkle. Since it's a Sparkly and Bright stamp set and the sentiment says so, I wanted to make sure I had a little bit of shimmer and shine going on the card. It's a little hard to see in that picture, but these glue pens or glitter pens are great just to add a nice embellishment without having to actually use glitter. So here I am trying to line up the bottom square with the bottom score line and pressing down firmly. Again, you only want to apply adhesive to the top of the square. And you do that until you get to the one that's at the very top. The reason I didn't want to use glitter on the actual front of the card is because it's interactive and it slides back. I didn't want it to rub the glitter off every time someone used the card. So there's the interactive portion of the card. This card takes a little bit more time, but I think that the effect is really neat and it's a little bit different. So thank you very much for watching, and please feel free to visit my blog at angelscraftcloset.blogspot.com. Thank you very much for watching, and enjoy preparation for your holidays.